Yo people, what's good? We got another tutorial coming today. I'm gonna break down how I made this crazy soul loop for NoCap, Rylo, RHODES, something in that kind of style. It's a bit of a longer one because there's so much to break down, so get some food, get a drink, relax, and yeah, let's get straight into it. Alright, cool. So we started with this piano. It's from the UAD bundle. I think it's like $20 a month. It's really good. Use it quite a lot. The chords we played, I'll play them for you now. Cool, so we're working in E minor, 80 BPM, but we started on a C, and what we've done here is it's called a walk down method. So started on a C, then look, as you can see, the scale is highlighted. So we've C, then to the B, then we've come down one in the scale again to the A, come down again in the scale to the G, and then this is the walk up. So what you're doing is you're copying what you've just done. So you can see it's a G, then it goes to the A, which we have here, and then a B. So it's a method they use in soul quite a lot. It's called the walk down method, and then it comes back up at the end to resolve itself. So to make this method sound good, what you want to do is utilize 7ths, 9ths and 11th chords. So what that is so your normal triad is a 1, 3, 5, and then above that you've got the 7th, then after that you've got the 9th and the 11th. So by adding them chords, it gives it that real soul-y feel, you know. So adding them, sorry, not chords, adding them extra notes on top gives it that real soul-y feel, and that's what I do. I don't know any music theory, as I said, but I play around with it and I just work with what sounds good. So once you got the chords down, you can see I've added these passing notes. I'm keeping these simple because again, after this I'm gonna add the proper top line. I'm just trying to get the bass, but just to add movement, I've added these notes here, these top lines. You can see here, instead of just having one chord play, I've just literally copied and pasted the chord over, strummed it just to give it a bit of variation, and then here there's nothing playing, just to create a little bit of bounce. You hear it in soul music quite a lot, that it doesn't always have to play the whole way through. You can create your own little bounces within the melody. And the last thing I want to talk about with these soul melodies is using diminished chords. So as you can see, this B here, this B chord that I've played, not everything is in the scale. For example, this D sharp isn't in the scale, so this is called a diminished chord. You get them a lot in soul music and it gives it that real soul-y R&B type of sound. So add them in where it sounds good. Don't overdo it with them because otherwise it's a bit too much, but just where you think it suits, you can add a diminished chord, diminished 7th chord. For the processing on the piano, we've got a decimal. What this does is it kind of cuts out some of the high end of the melody, makes it sound a bit more retro. S1 imager to widen out the sound, a Valhalla reverb, a compressor. Just to, this compressor here is really good because it gives it like a vintage type of feel, makes the piano sound a bit squashed together, which I really like. And then we just got an EQ cutting out that low end because there's going to be so many sounds coming into this loop. I don't want things to clash, so I'm just cutting out a lot of the low end. Now we've got the chords down, we can add the top line. So I'll play that for you now. So that top line might sound a bit crazy, but it's really not. So the first thing you want to do is come up here on the top left, click, go to view, scale highlighting, set it to whatever scale you're in, and then put it to minor natural Aeolian. That's going to bring up this grey scale on your piano roll. Once you've got your scale highlighters on, it's going to make life so much easier. because you know exactly what notes you can and can't play. When I'm making these soul top lines, I'm trying to utilize these little runs. This here, the repetition creates a soul-y feel. And a big bit of advice I could give to you is go and listen to some old school soul music and listen to how they play. And I try and replicate that, make it my own. So for example, one thing they do a lot is use these grace notes. It creates like a flick that the pianists use. And the last tip I'd give you is, what I do is I go online and I look up, for example, I'm working in E minor at the moment, but I'll look up the E minor blues scale. So you can see this A sharp actually isn't in the scale. I've used it here again, here. I've used it all over this top line. And what that does is, the blues scale, it creates that soul-y sound. So again, you don't want to overuse it, but when you think it sounds right, add them blues notes in and it's going to really elevate your top lines and make them sound that much better. The next sound we've added is this RHODES from Lounge Lizard, the old school Model 1 preset. To create this chord progression, we've just copied it from the piano chords we laid down earlier, and we've copied it up 1 octave. So the piano is working in the mid to low ranges, so now I want something to fill up the high frequencies. So by pitching it up an octave, it harmonizes really well and creates depth to the melody. And it sounds like this. For the effects, we've added a reverb, RC20. This preset's from a CHORDS really good preset. Chorus June 6 to add a chorus effect to the chord progression. A spring reverb. It's a real vintage reverb that I like to use on soul loops. And then we've got an EQ, cutting out the lows again because this sound doesn't have too many lows in it. I'm just using it for the high octaves. The next sound we've got is this RHODES. It's another one from the UAD collection I was talking about earlier. It's called the Waterfall B3, and we've got the American Gospel preset. So like we've done with the RHODES, we've copied and pasted the chords, but instead of having them play out the whole length, we've shortened it down just so it can complement the piano. I don't want this sound playing the whole time because it's very overpowering, but I just want it to create a nice little texture almost on top of the piano. And that organ sounds like this. For the effects on that organ, we've got a pancake, decimal again, cutting out some of the high end, S1 imager, we got a reverb, a compressor, and then an EQ. The next sound we added is from Labs. If you haven't got that, definitely get it. It's free and it's got a bunch of super cool vintage sounds in there. I'm using this preset and it sounds like this. Next up is the vocals. I found this vocal sample, sounds crazy, sounds like this. With the effects on this one, I'm really trying to thin it out. So what I've added is an ambience, which is a reverb, it's free. Another reverb, LFO tool to make it like sound like it's bouncing kind of. It's like kickstart, but not as heavy as kickstart. We got this RC20 preset. This is from the CHORDS kit again. It just cuts out a load of the low end and a little bit of the high end. We've got a pancake, so it's coming around our headphones. And then we've got an EQ, cutting out some highs, lows, and a bit of the harsh frequencies. Okay, let's break down the main section of the loop now. I'll play it quickly just so you can hear it. So for the main part of the melody, everything we broke down for the intro stays the same. The next sound we added is this lead. The lead sounds like this. And then it just repeats over the exact same. The preset we use for this sine lead is in Falcon, and it's called Solo Sine. It's really good. I use it quite a bit. So for the effects on that, we use the fruity flanges on the lead preset, decimal cutting out the high end, pancake, S1 imager, we got a reverb, and then just the EQ cutting out some of the highs yet again. Because it's a harsh sound, I don't want it going crazy in the mix, otherwise it's gonna be the main sound you hear, where I want it more tucked away in the background. The next sound we added is this string, sounds like this. This string sounds from Opus, and it's this preset here. Then we've just added some real simple processing. We've got S1 imager, we got a pancake, a reverb, and then an EQ cutting the lows. The next sound we added really brings this melody to life. So I added a drum kit, and the preset I used was this 1975 kit from BBC Labs. And it sounds like this. By adding this, like I said, it just really brings the melody to life. It gives it movement. It's something that I like to add to all of my soul loops, just to give it the energy that it needs. But next up, we changed the vocals slightly from the intro. What we've done is we've pitched it up an octave, and then you can see here at some points I've made chops into the sample and I've sped it up just to give it another bit of variation. So now that sounds like this. For the processing, we just kept it exactly the same as we did on the first vocal. And then finally, to finish it all off, we just added this bass, and it sounds like this. So with the bass, I'm doing similar to what I did with the piano top line. So I'm just copying the root notes that we use for the piano chord progression, and then I'm adding little runs. So here you can see there's a run. Then I added a grace note here to make it sound more natural. We got another run here, and then I utilized the octave. So just because it's a bass, in these soul loops, don't think you have to keep it to the low octaves. Bring some of it up just so it gives it that real feel, you know. When you hear a guitarist play in these soul songs, sometimes they do that. They use the whole fretboard. So do the same with your stuff, and it will sound really good. And that's the finished loop. It might be a bit of a longer one because I'm trying to explain everything. There's a lot to these soul loops. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, let me know. And I'm gonna make a beat to this now and I'll play it on the outro. And if you're looking for crazy soul loops, I'm gonna leave some links in the description to my soul kits. They're crazy, check them out, and yeah, let's get it.
What you got going on?
Kai, what you cooking?